We will see powerful AI emerge in 2026 with major societal impacts across 5 key categories in the following 5 to 10 years after the powerful AI is created. Hey friends, I'm Caitlin Sapir and you're listening to AI and Anxious, a show making the AI future less scary, one conversation at a time. I remember reading an article about 10 years ago on my way to university about the curve of technology and where we were at the time. I remember it had a picture of this exponential curve and there was like a little guy on this steep curve and that we were on this hyper acceleration curve. And that is when I remember deciding to commit 100% into the technology sector and become a technical entrepreneur crossing the road at my university. Of course, no one could have predicted where we are now. Perhaps some savants did, or others by accident. But as we begin a new year in AI, I know we are climbing that almost vertical curve of acceleration bit by bit every day. But today, specifically, I want to focus on a really eye-opening article by Dario, the CEO of Anthropic, who are the creators of Claude, ChatGPT's main competitor. And this was an article passed to me by an exceptionally talented entrepreneur and AI leader, Ricardo Granova, who is a product manager at Leonardo.ai. But before we dive into the predictions, I need to talk about the concept of powerful AI or AGI. Think of it as Dario describes a country of geniuses in a data center. So the AI is smarter than a Nobel Prize winner across many relevant fields. It has all the interfaces available to a human working virtually. So text and audio, video, mouse and keyboard control, internet access, computer access, and can control existing physical tools, robots, laboratory equipment through a computer. So in theory, it could even design robots or equipment for itself to use. So now, this article by Dario is predicting that we will see powerful AI emerge in 2026 with major societal impacts across 5 key categories in the following 5 to 10 years after the powerful AI is created. And the categories are biology, neuroscience and mental health, economic development and poverty, peace and governance, and work and meaning. This article is incredible, and I am just hoping to summarize what it talks about across these different facets and important areas. But I really think it's a great read because it's a more realistic and hopeful account of the positive impact that AI could have on the world in the next 7 to 12 years across developed and underdeveloped countries, instead of jumping straight to robots, instantly taking over the world or wiping out humans overnight. It focuses on possible and tangible positive impacts across these 5 categories. So I'm going to go through those and summarize the what crazy breakthroughs could happen, how AI can enable these breakthroughs, and why it matters in this episode. So kicking off with biology and physical health. So the claims in this article is that we have the potential after 5 to 10 years after powerful AI to eliminate most diseases, thinking infectious disease, cancer, genetic disease prevention of Alzheimer's, doubling lifespan, so doubling human lifespan to around 150 years, and the development of personalized medicine and treatments. So how could this be possible? Sounds pretty crazy, but in the article, it basically explores the ability of AI being able to compress 100 years of research into 5 to 10 years. So basically, the idea of powerful AI is not just to perform an individual function that, a biologist might do, like data analysis, not taking like part of someone's role, but rather using AI to perform, direct, and improve upon nearly everything that a biologist does. And therefore, it's accelerating the abilities of existing biologists, and then potentially giving 50 to 100 years of biological process in 5 to 10 years. So this would also be potentially achieved by having millions of AI instances analyzing medical data, because powerful AI is only constrained by, technical resources and hardware, having AI-powered personalized medicine, and then kind of, to a point, automated drug discovery and testing. So basically, AI would be able to speed up research dramatically, this powerful AI concept, but physical experiments and clinical trials will obviously still take time, which I'll talk about a bit later, the limitations of intelligence. But of course, I was reading through this and, as someone with a chronic autoimmune disease, that was quite exciting to read through, and just generally to have less people prone to illness and suffering is a great thing for society. And I know myself, I had quite a few years where I was pretty down and out with my treatment. Even if you haven't been through major acute chronic illness yourself, you would have loved ones that have or are currently going through that. So imagining what we can achieve without people getting unlucky with their health, because most of the time, a lot of the time, it's just down to bad luck. And while I do feel like technology has caused a lot of mental and physical ailments itself, AI may be able to rewrite that story and get us back to what humanity is about, which, relationships, progress, and productivity, without spending all of our time on our organic vessels, aka our bodies. So obviously that would be exceptional in the 5 to 10 years after. So then we go into neuroscience and mental health. So again, along the lines of accelerated research, we could see the treatment or prevention of most mental illnesses, enhanced cognitive abilities and emotional well-being, better understanding of brain function, and development of new therapeutic approaches. And there's a quote in this article that says, the human baseline experience can be better with obviously a better understanding of neuroscience and mental health that is AI powered. So how this could be achieved with AI would be analyzing brain patterns rapidly at scale, personalized mental health treatments, AI guided behavioral interventions. So I personally use Claude a lot to do behavioral cognitive therapy with me and some other therapeutic strategy design. So I definitely use it already for that. Then having advanced neurological monitoring. Yeah, essentially what we would be hoping for would be a fundamentally more humane world with less suffering, because mental health issues, certainly seeing through that kind of lens of life, it's just awful, And I think it's particularly interesting that we could move from a trial and error type treatment with medications. If you've ever tried, mental or SSRIs or anything like that, you'll know that it can be pretty difficult. Even for those without clinically significant mental health challenges, everything in our whole reality and interaction with the world is all about perspective and our emotional state, really. Families and romantic partners especially could find more harmonious interactions given more personalized tools and support, and less barrier to entry with mental health tools. Imagine if your unhinged parents could develop better emotional intelligence and have less mental space taken up by anger or anxiety. Wouldn't that change our holidays and Christmases? For physical and mental illness, it's not that there isn't a solution. I mean, there isn't right now. Essentially, we simply haven't arrived at it yet. I think that's the case for most things. At least I believe that we have a lot of solutions. We will get to a lot of solutions in the future. but it's just a matter of how long will it take. And without AI, obviously it's going to be 10 or 100x longer versus potentially having these types of solutions in our lifetime, which obviously would be great for those who are currently, suffering with biological or mental health issues right now. Maybe there could be a solution, in up to 12 years in the future. That would be incredible, life-changing for a lot of people, I imagine. And then he goes into economic development and poverty. So there's a claim that potentially there could be an additional 20% annual GDP growth in developing nations using AI, bridging the gap between developed and developing worlds, improved food security and resource distribution, and potentially climate change solutions. Unfortunately, the article doesn't go super deep into the climate change solutions, which I was very curious about, but that's okay. But in terms of the other elements, the how AI can enable those things would be AI optimized resource allocation, automated economic planning, AI-driven productivity gains, and smart distribution systems. However, like with anything, ensuring equal access to these benefits across developing and underdeveloped nations will obviously be a difficult challenge to overcome, to actually see the full realization of any of these solutions. And then so the biology, mental health, poverty, elevation, more fleshed out ideas in this article and have a bit more brevity from the author. But the peace and governance aspect is probably a bit more theoretical and not necessarily fleshed out as to how that may happen. But there are some interesting ideas in the article about, potentially additional efficiencies in the government, legal and political systems. But I think that may be one of the hardest elements of societal change because it is so human driven, that even if AI can make a difference, it's about convincing, the people to actually allow AI to be implemented into those systems. And then his final element is about work and meaning. So this is something I talk about a lot, and, AI and anxious, a lot of people are mainly anxious about their jobs and what value they can bring if AI can do their job better than they can. So yes, if AI is doing everything, how will humans have meaning? For that matter, how will we survive economically? And the postulation in this article is essentially if AI is only better at 90% of a given job, the other 10% will cause humans to become highly leveraged. So I guess, superhumans or highly enhanced or augmented humans, increasing compensation and actually creating a bunch of new human jobs, complementing and amplifying what AI is good at, such that this other 10% that the humans are doing would continue to expand to employ almost everyone. So it could be that a subject matter expert in a particular field or a specific role could be orchestrating teams of AIs or co-piloting alongside human managers and experts to do novel and interesting work instead of menial tasks that they potentially don't enjoy. I feel like, especially in the white-collar worker industry, there's a lot of things that I really don't enjoy doing. So yes, there's some reassuring context and content in this article. But then he explores, okay, what if human tasks are replaced at scale? What if the AI can do 100% of the job? He's saying there could be a capitalistic economy of AI systems, which then gives out resources. So huge amounts, and the overall economic pie should be massive to humans based on some secondary economy of what the AI systems think makes sense to reward in humans. So kind of like a universal basic income, but probably more balanced and weighted towards human values on a global scale. So I'm sure that I do believe that the concept of universal basic income has been discussed and is being discussed very, very aggressively over in the US at the very least. So that is something that is being considered in response to what powerful AI can potentially do. So that makes me feel less anxious. There's going to be a universal basic income, if it's equitably distributed, of course, is always the caveat. But I think what makes people really anxious about this concept of powerful AI or AGI is that it's just going to happen overnight, where we'll just be living our lives as we normally are. And then we'll just wake up one morning and the world is taken over by AI. And actually, the reason why it would take 5 to 10 years from the creation of powerful AI for these societal shifts and breakthroughs to occur is because of the limitation of intelligence to be able to solve problems. While obviously superintelligence is an incredible thing in terms of being a problem solver and making breakthroughs and massive changes, there are 5 key limitations to stop or hamper powerful AI being able to make these kind of overnight changes. So the speed of the outside world, there are constraints that just can't be changed with AI, like cells and animals run at a fixed speed, so experiments take a certain amount of time. Our current hardware and software infrastructure plays a big role in speed too. There's also a postulation that quantum computing is required to even be able to run this powerful AGI. And they're saying that, in 2030, quantum computing will be publicly available. So the 2026 estimate may also rely on that, but I guess we will have to see. Then the other limitations would be need for data. Without data, the intelligence has no real good instructions or blueprints to kind of work off. Think of your workplaces and the knowledge you have and how much of that is actually documented in a structured manner that a computer could understand. Like, there's a lot of data out there or in people's heads that isn't structured in an actually digestible way by a computer that only really understands ones and zeros. So then, then constraints from like us, from humans. So there's lots of things that can't be done that don't break laws or harm humans or mess up society's current structure, including how money works and flows, which is obviously super key to our functioning society. So obviously the AI is limited by that. Then you also have physical laws. So some physical laws are just unbreakable, like you can't uncook an egg and pudding does not unstir. So there's just some things that, some people think that AI is just like magic fairy dust that can just do everything. But yeah, those are the limitations that would really hamper the progress of AI to actually do anything, really earth shifting. But yeah, I know that this probably sounds like a bit of a radical article, but I want to consider what the world would look like if some of these predictions were to materialize in 5 to 10 years after powerful AI is created, assuming that it's created not this year, but next year. And, presumably in our lifetime, how can we be prepared? How can we contribute? How can we maintain hope and progress? In the case of biological advancements, we should focus on preventative health now, plan potentially for longer lives, build health literacy for new treatments, maybe reconsider family planning. And a lot of my friends don't want to have kids because they think the world is just not worth raising a kid in, but potentially it might be amazing, assuming these societal impacts. For mental health, we may be all able to access the right therapy and coaching and new therapies we haven't been able to use before, which gives definitely more hope that we could elevate our current day-to-day baseline of health and happiness. I mean, those first two definitely get me super excited. Then for economic development, we become even more global and can think about different skills and new forms of value, uniquely human skills, and exploring creative interests, stronger relationships, and purpose beyond work as well. So lots of amazing things that could be the positive upside of AI. And maybe real estate will get cheaper with different property designs and town planning. Or it just gets more expensive because we're all 150 years old. But who knows? Some final thoughts after reading through this amazing yet extremely detailed and long article from Dario. I know a lot of people are saying the world is worse off because of technology. Even I think that sometimes. Social media addictions, layoffs from AI agent experimentation, blue light disrupting sleep from devices, more sedentary lifestyles, and disproportionate reward and pay, like some software engineers are on like $400,000 a year, which is insane. But I really strongly believe, and this article explores, that AI can make the world much better than it is right now, with less suffering and greater equality. And, for people who are scared of or really hate the concept of AI, I would ask the question, is the world fair and equitable now? Does it not need radical change? I feel like there's a lot of imbalance at the moment in every respect. So I think this is the radical change we could need to get us on a better path after the years of COVID. But yes, life can improve with AI. And I believe the gap can close between the privileged and the disadvantaged. If AI does take over majority of our work tasks, there will be new and better systems that can inherently form than the current reward system that we have, capitalism, that is deeply flawed and unfair, particularly for disadvantaged and diverse groups, which we are still working through. And AI could assist with fairer financial systems. There could be much less suffering physically and mentally, and by proxy, a greater sense of community and connectedness globally, which is obviously something to aspire to, for sure. And the possibility of less inequality between developed and underdeveloped countries, which is absolutely essential. There's no refuting that either. But yes, it's not to say that this is all guaranteed and that there aren't also downsides and unhappy potential paths and other risks to AI. But I think emphasizing it is more possible than it ever has been. And that's what AI companies like Anthropic are fighting for. And that's what I am hopeful and fighting for too, in the use and support and acceptance of AI. So that about wraps it up. Food for thought. I would definitely recommend reading the entire article if you have a bit of time on your hands, by Dario Amadei. Links are in the comments. Hope this has garnered some hope and insight for an AI-driven future. Follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. For more information, check out our website for more resources at Blackfeather, like a bird's Blackfeather.ai. Otherwise, until next time, my friends.
What are we saying to each other? It seems they're trying to teach us a basic tonal vocabulary. It's the first day of school, fellas.